Today we're going to be talking about Chinese stocks, and we're going to be looking at the options that you have if you're already invested in them or if you're considering investing in them. 2018 has been a very rocky year for stocks, especially for Chinese stocks. They have been on a roller coaster ride, and as of right now, most of them are actually sitting at negative returns for the year. So the question is now the best time to buy these stocks? Let's find out. If you like this video, drop a huge like down below, and be sure to check out my channel as well for more content like this. But for those of you that have seen me before, you know that I'm pretty bullish when it comes to Chinese stocks over the long term. My largest position in my portfolio at one point was a Chinese stock, and in fact, at one point I actually had two of my top largest positions as Chinese stocks. Over the last few months, I have deleveraged my position and reallocated my portfolio, so things have changed, but that doesn't mean I'm not bullish on China and Chinese stocks over the very long term. But to find out what's really going on, let's look at some data and some numbers, and let's try to figure out if this is actually going to be a good opportunity to buy into these stocks for the very long term. I personally like to incorporate both technical analysis and fundamental analysis when I'm making decisions on purchasing stocks. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So let's first start off by looking at the fundamentals here of Chinese stocks in general. And of course, we can't ignore the fact that there is a possible trade war going on right now, and there are a lot of tariffs that the US want to impose on China. In fact, the US wants to impose around $200 billion, possibly even more, of Chinese goods. So this could really affect a lot of the big Chinese companies that sell to consumers in the United States. So you might be wondering, why does this really affect consumers? Well, if you think about it, if the US is causing stress on Chinese products and Chinese companies, that means that Chinese companies now have to pay a higher tax when they sell their products to US. And as a result, they're gonna have to cut their profits on this because their taxes are gonna be higher. And as a result, they might actually end up raising prices on their products, which in turn will hurt consumers because now it's going to be more expensive to buy the same things that were cheaper, say, a year ago. Now, because of this overall sentiment, a lot of Chinese stocks, in fact, most Chinese stocks have been getting sold off by international, especially US investors. And this is despite strong earnings from some of the largest companies like Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent, JD. This of course raises concerns because it shows us that even with strong numbers and strong earnings, these companies are still selling off, which gives us kind of an idea that the overall sentiment around these Chinese stocks is currently bearish. And in my opinion, until we can get some sort of conclusion or we can move on from this trade war or tariff stuff that's been going on for the last few months, I don't think that we're going to see any changes really, and as a result, Chinese stocks will continue to decline in my opinion. But now let's take a look at the technicals here, which is actually very interesting. So from its all-time high, the Chinese ETF here, MCHI, is down around 25% from time of this recording, and this would actually classify it now in a bear market. So anything really below a 20% drop is considered a bear market. Now, if we look at the daily chart, which we see here, we can see that we're actually at a very critical support level in this stock. Now, this support level dates back actually to 2016, where we tested it twice and it actually held since then. Now, the question is, will it hold this time around? So my honest opinion is that I'm not too sure that it will because of the fundamentals and the fundamental issues we just discussed. You also have to note that we're well below our moving averages here, which is also a typical bearish sign when it comes to stocks. Now, if we jump over to the weekly chart here, we can see that we're holding support, but we're getting close to the 200 moving average, which is a level that I think that this really wants to test to see if there is support truly at this level. I personally would not be surprised if we came down and actually did break the support to test this 200 moving average on the weekly. In fact, I'm strongly expecting this to happen. This is actually a level that we have not tested since 2017, so it's about time that we come down and test this. Finally, if we look at the monthly as well here, we get a very similar story. We're holding the support level here, but we have our 50 moving average at around $55 per share, which is where I'd suspect a bounce if we do break below the support level. Now, these are usually very strong levels in stocks where buyers come in to push prices higher, so a lot of buyers and investors will be watching these levels closely. So it'll be interesting to see if this can hold or if we're going to break past this and continue moving lower. Now, what I personally found interesting is that everything from the technicals and the fundamentals are actually correlating together. We are supposed to be getting news about the final decision on the tariffs from the US. Trump was supposed to announce that, I think it was last week, but he hasn't announced it so far this week. but we are expecting to have that soon. And when we look at the technicals, we just saw that we are at a very key support level when it comes to Chinese stocks. So my sentiment and my view here is that if Trump comes out and announces higher tariffs than expected, we'll most likely see the support level break. And if that does happen, we may be in trouble from a technical standpoint. If, however, we do see Trump announce tariffs that are expected or even lower than expected, then we might actually see a bounce in the support level and we might finally see a recovery or the beginning of a recovery in Chinese stocks. So really at this point, there are two strategies. First is to continue to average down even if we keep going lower, as long as earnings are strong and as long as the fundamentals of the individual businesses are still strong. The second is to pretty much wait to see if we do break the support level, and if we do, let the stock find a bottom and then start averaging in once we do start trending higher and these stocks start to recover. Of course, the second option is kind of a guessing game. It's kind of timing the market, if you will. But in my opinion, if we do break below the support level and the announcements from Trump and the administration team don't go according to plan and investors are spooked from this, I think that we may see a lot more downside in these Chinese stocks with absolutely no support in sight. But we all know that timing the market is essentially impossible, so you may be losing gains, you might be leaving gains on the table if you do decide to go through this route. But on the plus side, at least you can wait for the market to prove to you that it has shown stronger fundamentals, it is starting to recover, and then you can put your hard-earned money into the market at that point. But I would say that the first option that we discussed is actually more feasible and more reasonable for long-term investors. For those of you that are looking to invest in China for the next 5, 10, or even more years, this may be a golden opportunity to scoop up shares on the cheap and hold them for the very long term, where you would most likely end up with pretty good gains over time. If we go lower, for example, you continue to add shares and you continue to lower your cost basis. Then when we finally do bottom out and we start recovering, you just sit back and you just watch your portfolio grow. Guys, don't forget to check out my channel on more videos on stocks. I'm personally invested in Chinese stocks, so I do create a lot of videos on Chinese stocks and other stocks as well. And I just want to remind you guys that no matter what route you decide to go, that I hope you have a prosperous and successful investing career. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and don't forget to invest positively. Peace.